I'm your host, Kavya, and I'm a high school junior in New Jersey. And I'm also a member of SWE Next, which is the Society of Women Engineers leadership program for high school girls. And each month on the show, I chat with a different guest from the STEM community. As today is December 1st, it marks the beginning of a fantastic holiday season filled with joy. And we hope to share some of that joy in today's interesting conversation. Today, I'm chatting with Nicholas Weddington, a product development engineer at TE Connectivity. Nicholas, welcome. We are so excited to have you join us today.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yep, and I'm going to be asking Nicholas a few questions to get to know a little bit more about him. And you can also ask questions by typing them in the Q&A box below. And we'll save some time in the end to get to as many as we can. And be sure to stay tuned until the end of today's session, where we will introduce a hands-on engineering challenge that you can try at home. Without further ado, let's begin. So Nicholas, could you please tell me what sparked your interest in engineering?
So I always grew up and excelled kind of in math and science in school. And during the summers, I would do summer camps and summer programs at Georgia Tech and other nearby universities to kind of expand that experience. And I've always been fascinated by tech, but when I transferred to high schools my sophomore year, I was encouraged to join the robotics team. And I think that's really what set off my career in engineering.
That's awesome. And how did you decide that you wanted to pursue engineering in college?
So initially with the robotics team that I joined, Team Firm-Baked Links, I was working more with marketing and organization and things for the team, but I was just so fascinated by the robots and building them and competing. So I wanted to work on getting some of that technical experience. So I began working with the team members on almost all aspects of the robot, from programming it, powering it, the design challenges, and I fell in love with the entire process. I figured that in order to expand these skill sets, that it would be good for me to go to school and pursue a degree in robotics engineering, because robots aren't just robots, but they encompass the skills from computer science, electrical engineering, and mechanical engineering. And so with going to school and studying robotics engineering, I was able to get all of those skills in one.
That's interesting how your passion for robotics led you to college and eventually your career path, which actually leads me to my next question. So could you please tell us a little bit more about your career path and what you do now as a product development engineer at TE Connectivity?
Yes, of course. So I graduated in 2020 with a double major in robotics engineering and electrical and computer engineering. And I was really passionate about creating products to help people as well as consumer products. Something that was also popular was participating in rotational programs, which will give you the opportunity to live in different cities and work on various projects with different teams. And I figured that that would be a good way to get my feet wet in industry and kind of find out what types of projects I would like and what types of projects I don't. As a research and development and product development engineer, it incorporates research, problem solving, design prototyping, innovative technology. And it's very interesting to see how an idea from a team makes it to the market for consumers to purchase.
Awesome. And I'd actually like to dive in a little bit more into your work, specifically with pressure sensors, which are used for a variety of products, including medical devices. So could you please tell us more about why these sensors are important in the healthcare sector and how you develop them?
Yes, so TE Connectivity actually produces products for about 10 different industries, from automotive to medical to sensors to aerospace. And for medical sensors specifically, we work on components that go into life essential products such as dialysis machines, surgical robotics, and even healthcare assessment. An example of one of the pressure sensors that we use in healthcare assessment is a catheter that provides pressure readings of flow. So like if you need to check the blood flow rate of an artery or a vein in the body, then you could insert this catheter and it could tell you if blood is properly pumping through the veins and possibly watch out for any underlying issues or errors.
That's awesome. And also, I wanted to know more about some of the technology that you're working with, just 3D modeling. So how does that play into all of this?
So 3D modeling, I feel, is a very essential step in the process. It really helps you visualize a product, especially if you're working on prototyping, and rapid prototyping is a key skill in my work. So after coming up with the design idea and creating the 2D sketch, 3D modeling it definitely helps you and the team see the vision.
That's actually really great how there's a process for turning the idea into reality. And so, what are some of those frameworks or tools that you're using when conceptualizing the design or coming up with that sketch that you were talking about?
So it all starts off with massive brainstorming, whether that's with you or with your team. But some of the specific structural tools, I don't know if you all are familiar with SMART goals. We kind of do like SMART problem statements. So really getting to the root of the problem so that we can ask the right questions to gather all of the information that we need. Some other tools include Six Sigma. And influencing for results, where it's massive brainstorming with converging and diverging ideas, forcing connections to other related topics, and ultimately coming up with the most practical idea. But most importantly, collaborations. It's always great to sit down with the team and have a inclusive brainstorming session and get everyone's input on how they want the outcome to be for the product.
So it seems that being resourceful and collaborative is a really important part of your work because when you're coming up with that idea, you want to like turn it into reality. And so it takes a lot of skills, which actually leads me to my next question. What do you think is the most important skill or mindset that helps you succeed in your current role?
I would say with research and development and product development, it's definitely innovation and critical thinking. Skill can be taught, resources can be provided, but a sharp, innovative, technical mindset will definitely do the heavy lifting.
And we also have our first audience question from Megan. So how do you use problem solving skills with your teammates?
So we have meetings where we implement specific skills and we set the objectives of the meeting or to what extent of the brainstorming we would like to accomplish. As you can imagine, for a huge challenge like using a catheter that monitors the pressure of blood flow, there's so many characteristics that kind of go into considering how this product needs to be made. You have your technical requirements, customer requirements, research that has to go into it. And so we start with the SMART setup to kind of figure out what is the problem, what are we trying to accomplish, what is our time frame, and is this a measurable and practical goal for us to accomplish. So it's all about breaking it down and being able to structure it so that you can attack it the way that you need to.
That's great. And problem solving skills and collaboration also go hand in hand. So when you're working with a team, people may have different ideas and perspectives. So how do you manage this and ensure everyone's voice is heard?
Well, it's human nature to have differences. And so, almost working in any team, there's always going to be a conflict of ideas. But that's a good thing. I mean, we're all different and we want to encourage different ideas. The first thing that I learned that is good to do is kind of watch out for your implicit bias or gator brain, which is your kind of human defense in saying no or thinking that something won't work without actually investing a little time into it and ironing out the details. Next, we encourage wild ideas. It makes it fun and it also just adds something that might seem bizarre, but could actually end up working a little later on once we throw out in more details or consolidate ideas that have been said. And then lastly, rationalizing suggestions and seeing like what's actually practical to accomplish. Everyone's input means that everyone will be more so happy with the solution once we come to that when working in a team.
Definitely. We all have blind spots in our own thinking. So by being open-minded, we can possibly solve a problem more effectively and creatively. And now
Exactly.
I want to go a little bit more into, once again, to your work. And what do you love most about what you're currently doing?
What I would have to say that I love most is the opportunity to work on so many different unique projects. With me being in a rotational program, I've had the opportunity to rotate within a couple of different business units, such as automotive, ITC, and sensors. So it's really interesting to see what they're all working on and also getting that technical experience. With me working on so many projects in shorter time frames, I have the opportunity to expand technical experiences that I already have, as well as pick up some new ones. And with having 4 rotations, it's just an irreplaceable experience being able to work with the different teams and work on the different projects. So I really enjoy that, and it's meaningful work. I feel like TE that with our program, we have a lot of meaningful work to do, and TE is doing meaningful work in the community as well.
That's really nice to hear. And I think how you said about finding meaning in your work, that's really important, because you want to love what you're doing. So thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing that. And in what ways do you think your job encourages you to be a change maker?
Um, I would say being a change maker comes more so from the passion that I have to help people. I've always, through developing innovative technology, as well as outreach initiatives. And where I feel like TE comes to play is they give me the platform and the resources to continue doing that. A slogan from TE is when technology connects, so does humanity. And those are values that I cherish and that I share and make sure that my development goals and with my project's work is aligning with the core values of the company.
And in thinking about the students joining us today and in the future, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
This is a good question. And I think about it more than you would think as well. I would say find your passion and hold on tightly. I feel like that definitely carried me through college. I was very passionate about what I was doing, and I was so excited to see what I will be working on in the future that nothing could really deter me from dropping one of my majors or holding back on going through classes, no matter how tough they were. The road is bumpy, but it's definitely worth it at the end of the tunnel. I would also say try new things. It's important to find out what you like and also what you don't like. Challenge yourself. Don't get too comfortable. Don't become complacent. And another quote that I always live by is give it your all so you can never look back and wish you gave more.
That's awesome. And I definitely agree about like finding something that interests you and really honing in on that. Like in high school, through taking classes and through internships, I was able to discover that computer science is one of my passions, and now that's like a major driver for me.
That's
So that's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah. And we actually have a question from Miss Pinto's class. And do you have any role models in the STEM field?
I do. And I have a couple, but the one that I like to speak on the most is Lonnie Johnson, a inventor, entrepreneur, investor, and aerospace engineer who invented the Super Soaker, the water gun. Funny story, it goes all the way back to third grade. I dressed up as him and did a project on him for Black Inventors Day during Black History Month. And years down the road, my junior year in high school, my robotics team was operating out of one of his facilities, and we work on our robot to compete along with other teams. And I was leaving the restroom and I actually bumped into him and we
Oh,
sparked
wow.
up a conversation, but it was such like like an all moment because I felt like I was standing in front of an icon. A couple years later, after that, last year, the first robotics competition, I was volunteering at the booth for my company, and ended up running into him again. And so we had a great conversation, caught up, and exchanged contacts. So I'm interested to see what we'll be working on in the future.
And I know that some kids are able to like find their passion early on and they're able to stick with that, but other times you can face a lot of challenges in your STEM journey. So what would you tell kids who aren't so sure about engineering or who may think that they're not cut out to be an engineer?
Um, Engineering is a lot more broad than people think, in the sense of the types of work that you can do and types of titles that you can have. So I suggest that if you're interested in engineering, do a little bit of research and find out what type of engineering, what interests you about the technical aspects of engineering, and what type of projects would you like to work on. Then I would suggest conducting miniature projects. There are a lot of kits and resources and things online for you to kind of get your feet wet and get a little bit more familiar with that avenue. There's also a lot of informational sessions and courses online on YouTube, absolutely free. It just gives you more information about the type of engineering that you're into or the type of projects that you would like to work on. Also do research on companies and do research on type of projects that those engineers are working on. And if you find that engineering is no longer your interest, then what about engineering attracted you to it? There are a lot of other positions that support engineers, like operations, project management, certification, supply chain, HR, recruiting, finance. So it's a lot of ways to be involved in the tech industry, both through engineering and not with engineering. So do your research and find out what aspect about it you really enjoy.
Yes, and one recurring theme that I'm seeing in this conversation is this idea of exploration, being curious, stepping out of your comfort zone and kind of trying new things because you never know, you might find something that you like. And so that's something that's great to see in our conversation. And now for a little bit more of a fun question, what do you like to do for fun outside of work?
I love to travel. It is my greatest passion. I do it every chance that I get. But I also like sightseeing and exploring the city. I like boxing. I like art, museums, arcade. I'm a foodie, so I love to try different restaurants I see on TikTok and stuff. um, and then spend time with friends and family when I get the chance.
That's nice. And if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Uh, so many fun ones. Like that's really hard to choose.
Yeah.
I'd probably say teleportation. I would save a lot of money on flights and I could just jump skip all around the world. That that would make me happy.
All right. And what's something that you've done in your life that you're really proud of?
Um, I would have to say my outreach initiatives over the years is something that I kind of picked up in high school, and our team was well known all around Metro Atlanta for our extensive outreach initiatives, making an impact on over 40,000 kids in the Metro Atlanta area. So that is something that I really cherished and want to continue to carry with me in my career, as well as getting things started since I recently relocated out here to California. And another accomplishment I would say I'm proud of is my International Academic Achievement Award with NSBE for the work that I did with an orphanage in Thailand, providing them with renewable energy alternatives for their facility.
Wow, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
incredible how you're bringing your work to places all around the world. And actually, could you please talk a little bit more about those outreach efforts? Is there something that you've learned from working with these students and kind of showing them the possibilities that exist in STEM?
Yes, it's I feel like initially when working with younger kids and students, I feel like sometimes they think like it's too hard or they get a little discouraged from not really understanding all the ins and outs. But once they start participating in activities, they see how much fun it is. And you can kind of see their mood change throughout the program or the process. And then they ask more questions and they're figuring out how to get more involved. And I feel like that the spark lighting within them to become more passionate about STEM and kind of pick that up on their own when they didn't even know that it was something that they wanted to consider, is just very, very valuable to me. With the We would mentor a couple of robotics teams from the elementary level to the high school level and help support them in making it to the larger competitions like the world competition with over 50,000 attendees. And with some of the work that we did at the orphanage in Thailand, was really assessing the houses that were in the area and seeing their energy consumption and how we can provide energy to them when they have power outages, and or other reasons to be down because the orphanage was in rural Thailand. So though just have being able to share those experiences and seeing how much they enjoy it and how they decide to pick it up it feeds me enough as itself.
Thank you for sharing. And we have another audience question, and I think we touched on this a little bit earlier. But what degree did you earn in college, and where did you go to college?
I got my bachelor's of science in robotics engineering and electrical and computer engineering. And I went to Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Worcester, Massachusetts. It's like in central Massachusetts in Northern America.
Great. And we have another question, and it's another one from Megan. So, as an engineer, what was your favorite project that you've worked on?
So many. I would have to say one of the recent ones was an LVDT position test assembly to test our pressure sensors, and I was making that to be shipped off to our site in China. Unfortunately, I had another rotation, so I couldn't hand deliver it, but that was a very interesting project, really stretching my 3D modeling and mechanical engineering expertise. Another one was a voltage input regulation for a gyro, like balance sensor. And it was kind of fun doing the calculations and running simulations to see if the schematic and things that I designed really did hinder spike voltage and protect the circuit. So it was neat, and working on PCBs, like the little electronic boards that go into the sensors, was really cool. And the catheter project. But the part I enjoyed about that was it was a little bit more operations research and development. So we were figuring out how to autonomously test the sensor using a robot. So it was neat bringing in and conceptualizing how a robot would fit in a lab space in order to conduct testing for our sensors.
And we're going to wrap up with one final question. So, looking into the future, what is one skill that you would like to master?
Flying a plane. I think flying a plane is definitely on my bucket list. I think that it would be an awesome experience. Plus, I love to travel, so who wouldn't want to fly a plane?
Definitely. Well, I believe that's all the questions we have time for today. And now it's time to introduce our hands-on engineering challenge that you can try at home. So let's watch this Discover Engineering Challenge video featuring Nicholas.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicholas Weddington. I'm a product development engineer at TE Connectivity. Today, I have an engineering challenge for you. Make a paper tower that can withstand as much wind as possible. Here are the few materials that you will need to use for this challenge: 4 sheets of paper, tape, scissors, a ruler or a yardstick, A weight with a hole in the middle, such as a large washer, or you can make a weight by taping pennies to the end of a paper towel tube. And finally, an electric fan. Now, there are a few constraints for this challenge. Number one, you only have 4 sheets of paper and tape to build your tower, nothing else. Two, the tower should be freestanding, meaning it can't be taped to the ground. And lastly, your tower should be strong enough and tall enough to hold the weight of at least 14 inches above the ground. Now, as you brainstorm, design, and sketch a few ideas out, think about how you can build your tower so that it is really stable and doesn't catch too much wind. Once you have built your tower, it's time to test how it does under windy conditions. Set a fan about 6 feet away from your tower and put the setting on low and see how it does. Did your tower withstand the wind? Try moving your fan forward in 1 foot intervals until your tower blows over. How close did it get? If your tower toppled over right away, there are no worries. Make changes and try again, or feel free to start over with a completely new design. You can find the written instructions for this activity and many more at discovere.org. Good luck and have fun.
So I hope you all will try the Windy City Tower Challenge and share your results with us. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for joining us. There was definitely so much inspiration and insight that I personally gained from this conversation. And I'm sure that all of the students would also agree.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me.
And thank you to all of you for tuning in. Please join us for our next Chats with Changemakers episode on Thursday, January 26th, where we will partner with the National Council of Examiners for Engineering and Surveying for a chat with a licensed professional engineer. And be sure to watch out for more details about that in January. Thank you. See you next time and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye, you all.